Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Do Your Parents Want to Stay Home, a weekly virtual caregiver education series. I'm Infinity Martin, Community Health Engagement Specialist at Sugar and Spice in Home Care. We're a nurse-owned and operated chronic disease management and caregiving agency, proudly serving Flagstaff and roughly a 1 hour radius surrounding.
Nicely done.
Thank you. We specialize in helping older adults truly thrive as they age in place wherever they call home.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yes, we do.
And today we're talking about if it's a good idea to move your parents into your own home.
Yeah. So we've seen this work both ways. I've seen it work both ways, where it's a great solution and other times where it's a terrible solution. So yeah, I think that that is becoming more of an option for families that are a family caregiver for an aging adult is just trying to figure out, gosh, would it just be better if they just lived in the house? I'm constantly having to run over to their house all the time or they're here or vice versa. It would just make things easier if we could just live under one roof. The other option is to like add on to your house or make like a mother-in-law quarters, something like that. So
Hmm.
this has come up frequently with one of our clients, and I was just telling him, I'm like, God, we're going to talk about that this week. It's such a coincidence.
And so, what are some conversations that families should have early on to set everyone up for success before making that decision to move their parents into their home?
Well, I think there could be so many different things, ways to answer that, but I guess the one that pops out at me most is as a family caregiver, you want to make sure that you have as clear of a understanding as you possibly can about what their needs are. Um, I think until you actually live under the roof with someone or spend a considerable amount of time with them, you may not really fully grasp the weight of what it means to care for them or what their day to day is like. A lot of the times that I think I have seen where it does not go well is when family members think they have a good idea of what what mom and dad are dealing with because they go for a visit for a week and they kind of see a glimpse, a chunk of time of what's going on. And maybe they realize that, gosh, I can't drive away and leave them here. Like they are not safe to be here by themselves. We'll just bring them home and it'll be fine. We'll figure it out. But a lot of times that just it's especially for family caregivers who still work or trying to raise their own families. I think it's important to understand that it can quickly become a full-time position. And
Absolutely.
so if you're not equipped for that, don't have the time for that, you're still working, still very busy, and then also take on another full-time job and that, yeah. So I think it's just it needs to be very clear. You may have really good understanding um about what it can take because it can definitely transition quickly.
And plus, you might need a lot of supplies that you have no idea that you
Sure.
actually need.
Yeah. Yeah. You may not know that your mom's incontinent of urine as the son because you're not all up close and personal with her when she's in the bathroom. So you may
Right.
not even know really what's going on in there and you might miss some things. Sure.
So, what are some financial benefits and costs of moving your parent in?
Well, I guess the benefits can be that you have two households' resources pooled into one.
Hmm.
A lot of times that's kind of what happens. Maybe the aging parents, maybe they sell their home and then invest in the mother-in-law quarters or the addition that's being put on to the house or the modifications that are being made in their children's homes that they're going to live in. Grab bars, things for the shower and the bathroom are usually some of the modifications that happen right away. It can be major things like widening hallways and widening doors and things like that to help wheelchairs and walkers get through. But I think, that's probably the most obvious financial benefit is just having the resources of two households put into one.
Hmm.
I think some of the hidden costs can be just back to some of the needs, just not realizing um, how much time it's going to take and how much resources you may not anticipate normally buying some of the products that you end up buying, like briefs and things like that, that can kind of rack up with the expenses. But I would say that most people probably think that they're going to just be able to pool resources from two families.
Hmm. That
Yeah.
makes sense. And are some boundaries sometimes hard to maintain once everyone is under one roof? I would think. I would think
Yeah,
probably.
I think naturally, just anytime I mean, it's just like think about what it's like when you go to visit your grandparents or something, everybody's under one roof, you're all sharing the same space. And so, um, given, I think so, obviously, if they're in like an addition that's been built, that would be less of an issue because they're
Hmm.
going to have their own space for the most part. But I would say even if they are not living under the same roof, you're still going to need to consider that your privacy will be affected. There will be less privacy. Um, and time, just your time and your resources. I think I'm trying to emphasize that I think people greatly underestimate the amount of time that it can take to really care for a loved one. And
Yeah.
it can just be silly things like, hey, I can't get the bottle, the lid off this bottle. Can you come over and help me? Or I've got the remote all screwed up on the TV again, and I'm frustrated and I don't know how to get this back. Or I can't get this piece of equipment to turn on, or I can't get my phone to work.
Yeah. Every little thing.
Technology, yeah, every little thing can kind of be a problem. And then also, it really just depends on their level of care of what they need. But if falling is a risk, and that's a concern for the family caregivers, then that can again just be a reason why they feel like they have to go check on them frequently and make
Right.
sure they're still upright. You know, um, there are definitely some safety things that you could put into place. I think we've kind of talked about cameras in
Hmm.
common places of the home, living room, kitchen, things like that, to put up so that you can at a glance kind of make sure that they're still doing okay. That can help. Um, but yeah, I've just seen where it does become very overwhelming very quickly, just to have someone that you're caring for all the time. And it might just be those frequent pop-ins, but it could easily turn into a full-time job where a lot of our seniors, they have multiple doctor's visits that they need to get to. So you might become a taxi driver, you might
Hmm.
become their case manager, handling all of their appointments, making sure that you're present at all the doctor's appointments because a lot of times our seniors have a hard time communicating their needs effectively, or they don't want to complain about something, so they might not bring up their
Right.
needs, all of them. Or they might forget what the doctor's advice was or what he recommended. And so then it's always important to have a family member present for appointments. So then that can become a lot,
Yeah.
and
It's like a full-time job.
can keep up on that, and then taking them to the grocery store and taking them to fun things to do. Um, it can quickly become kind of overwhelming. And so
Yeah.
I think as long as people really understand that that it can become it can take over a lot of their time. There are some situations where it's fine. Maybe the family caregiver doesn't have a lot of other commitments. They're not working full time anymore, or
Mhm.
they can work remote whenever, and they can manage being home a lot and being available. And then maybe it's fine. Like I have seen it work out beautifully, and I've seen it not work out beautifully.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it really put a lot of tension on marriages of the family caregivers. Um, because if you can imagine, if one spouse is now fully committed and there's a lot of care that's needed over here, then now this, isn't working that well. And so it can put a lot of strain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Financial strain too. Yeah.
Let's see. How can families share care in a way that feels more balanced?
Yes, and so I think it's important too to not take on something like that by yourself. If you have some kind of a extended family that can also step in and help in times of need, that can help a lot because one of the things that can start to happen as a family caregiver is to start to feel overwhelmed and kind of I think the word that's coming to mind I don't want to use. Let me think. Um, can just feel very restricted, almost like, wow, I can't leave for the weekend anymore.
Yeah.
I can't just spontaneously go to coffee with my friends like I used to. Or if I want to go on a hike, the whole time I'm there, I'm worried. I got to hurry up and get back. Are they okay? What if they call while I'm on this hike and I don't have signal? There can be all these things that kind of just start to cause some stress and anxiety. And so if the best case scenario would be if there is an extended family group
Right.
that can all help and chip in from time to time and cover different parts of the day. Or if one person needs to go out of town for the weekend, then other family can step in. And so I think that has, in my experiences, that has been the most successful
Right.
part of it.
Yeah, and definitely ask for help. It's okay to ask for help.
It's okay
Yes.
for,
And it's
yeah.
sometimes so hard to ask, and I don't know why that is, but
Yeah. So going into it knowing that you're going to need help and have those conversations ahead of time
yeah.
and the whole family's on board
Mm-hmm.
to pitch in and help can make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's important for families to understand about the level of involvement this can become? I mean, we talked about that a little bit already. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe that's kind of a redundant question.
Well, I guess, yeah, maybe in a little bit. I think back to just making sure that you understand their care as much as possible,
Yeah.
and really wrapping your head around that. I've seen where they move their family home. They think they had an idea of what their needs were, and then they get them home and they're not at all what they thought. They
Yeah.
thought they could cook a meal on their own. They thought they could manage their own medications. They thought that they could um, still drive. And then they spend more time with them and they realize, oh, you're not taking your meds.
Right.
You
Wait
haven't
a
taken them
minute.
all week. What's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Or, oh, you left the oven on. I didn't know that that was a problem. I
Right.
thought, and so I think just, um, if possible, just move in and come for a very long visit
Right.
with them to be able to see it through. But you're gonna have to get beyond their walls. You're gonna have to venture into their bathroom and figure out what's going on in there. Are they taking their meds and really dig and not be standoffish and
Yeah.
like you're gonna have to get in the nitty-gritty with them and figure out how they're really doing
Right.
before you take that on.
Yeah, sometimes they can really put on a good front, like they're really
Yes.
doing really well. And then,
Yeah.
I mean, you have to really spend a long time with them until you start realizing, oh my gosh, wait
Yeah.
a minute, this is not how they're
Right.
actually are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And so, what role can professional support, like having sugar and spice, help play in making this arrangement
Yeah.
suitable or sustainable? Well, both, but
Question. Yes. So actually having some outside agency help can be huge because if you if you're juggling the major stuff, the family caregiver, if they're juggling the doctor's visits, they're juggling, any new aches and pains that come up, any prescription med changes that need to be made. There's just always so many things. But if somebody like Sugar and Spice can come in and provide that companionship, make sure they're getting showered, make sure their medications are getting taken, making sure that, hey, the dog got walked and the floor got swept and the dishes got done and they had a healthy lunch and, they had a great time. They played some games, they did some brain work. Um, those kind of things can really just alleviate a lot of pressure off of a caregiver, allow them to go run the errands that they need to run, go on a hike, go check out for a little bit, go to work if you need to, if they're still working, and still feel like their heart is in a good place, like they're not feeling like they're neglecting their parents or worried that they need something and they're not home or has somebody fallen. Um, it really is important for the family caregivers to take care of themselves, like you said, and maintain a healthy balance of their energy and just be able to work hard, play hard, be home when you're home and not be super distracted with so many other things going on. So, yeah, having an agency, Sugar and Spice, we're here, Flagstaff, and about an hour surrounding. We can come alongside. And I think what's important too is we don't have any minimum number of hours required for services. So, if your parents are resistant to the idea of having some help, or you're trying to figure out how to fit it in the budget, we do have very flexible scheduling. We can come for an hour at a time, 2 hours at a time. If something were to happen or you needed to leave for the weekend, we can increase our hours temporarily for a few days and then go back to the regular schedule. You can stop and start with us at any time. You're not obligated, stuck in a contract, anything like that. So we make it very flexible for families to get some help and can start small if they need to.
Yeah. Divide and conquer.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And the Sugar and Spice caregiver, I mean, everything's documented too. So that really, really helps keep things in order.
Yeah, we keep a binder in the home, and the caregivers are going to fill out like an activity sheet to show, but then they also write a progress note, and families are welcome to read those notes and kind of figure out how the day went and what kind of activities they did. And yeah, it's all in there. Very helpful for families to stay connected, even if they're not there 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love Sugar and Spice. Give us a call, you guys. We're here when you need us.
That's right. All right. Is that it for today?
I think so. Anything else you want to add?
I don't know. I probably have more stuff I could talk about, but I think that gives a good overview of, just how to be prepared. Get the home prepared, things like that would be my advice. Oh, one other thing. Yes, actually. One other thing that's very important is to have a lot of good conversations with your parents. If you're thinking of moving them in with you, have some good conversations over the span of several months. Make sure that everyone's on the same page. If your loved one is absolutely like, I do not want to live with you, I do not want to live in your beautiful addition that you just spent $100,000 on, I do not want to do that, then you need to conquer that before you go and make all these big plans, right? Because it's not going to work for them to come kicking and screaming and really upset about the whole situation. You want to try to work that out. And so on the flip side of that, if they are wanting to stay in their home and they are very adamant about it, then that's where Sugar and Spice can come in and prolong the time that someone can stay at home. They can actually live out the duration of their life in their home. We've done that with several families, so we can make that possible. But I think that's another big part of it, is just make sure that this is even a feasible idea, and everybody's on board with it. It's very hard a lot of times for our aging loved ones to downsize, to have to get rid of their family heirlooms that are not all going to fit in this little space now. Or if they're moving into a house with their kids, then maybe they just have a bedroom and maybe their own bathroom. But what's going to happen with all their living room furniture and their china and their extra car and all their tools in the garage,
Yeah.
all those kinds of things.
Major.
That's very hard. Yeah. So just making sure that those conversations are happening ahead of time, work through those tough transitions before you invest a ton of money and kind of uproot everything. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a good idea.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us again today. And we'll see you next week at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time for Do Your Parents Want to Stay Home? Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.